Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am all about the beautiful new Regal Winter Suite from the Stampin' Up! 2024 September December mini. That's a mouthful. I usually just call it the holiday mini, but the official name is the September to December mini. And I absolutely love this suite. I especially love the designer paper in this suite. So you're going to see projects that really feature the designer paper very prominently today because it's just so beautiful. Honestly, when don't I feature designer paper? I'm a sucker for pretty paper. So I'm going to show you the suite. I am going to make 3 projects with you today, and then I'll show you a few more ideas towards the end. But before we do that, let me know that you are out there and that I am live and all things are go. So give me a hello in the comments, whether you are joining me live or if you're catching the replay later on. Let me know that you're out there. It's always nice for me to see who's watching and where you're watching from. All right, so we've got Jeannie K in gorgeous Fredericton. It is a gorgeous day here as well, Jeannie K. It is like a perfect day. It was freezing cold this morning. I just had this T-shirt on when I left the house, and I quickly went back in and grabbed a jean jacket because it was quite chilly. But it has been a gorgeous day here. It's supposed to get quite warm towards the end of the week, so we're gonna have another little flashback to summer, I think, for a few days. All right, we've got Terry, front porch in Canton, Ohio. Beautiful there too. Yeah, I think we're all kind of lucky under this little bubble of beautiful weather. We'll enjoy it while it lasts, right? Hi, Louise. Welcome. Sorry. Hi, Sonia. And Jen from Washington. Hi, Kathy and Linda. Welcome, welcome. All right, I'm going to flip to my desk view, and hopefully a few more will come in and join us as we are looking at this beautiful product. Oh, I see Jean snuck in, and Jeannie, oh, thank you. That's so kind of you to say. It's pretty in Tennessee. Yeah, it's a pretty day here too. Jeannie, really lovely. All right, so here we go. The Regal Winter Suite is found on pages 34 and 35 in the catalog. So if you have your catalog, you may want to flip to this beautiful suite. We actually have 2 designer papers in this suite. What's not to love about that? I'm going to show you the papers in a moment, and then we have some fabulous embellishments. It's just a really, really pretty suite. So let's actually look at our products up close and personal here. So we've got a lovely sort of watercolor looking stamp set. So florals and some foliage and a little bit of texture, and then some lovely mixed font sentiments. And then we have a very simple set of dies. Now this bundle is actually a fairly reasonably priced bundle. I can't remember, I'm just going to flip back to it just so I can double check the price. But as I recall, I think this is a fairly, yeah, it's only $64.75 for the bundle, which is actually pretty reasonable here in Canada. Most of our bundles run over $70. So it's a pretty reasonably priced one. We've got our open dies that cut out the stamped images, and then a couple of extra dies. This is a large label die that actually cuts a label and then a frame that goes outside the label. You're going to see that on a project today. And then this one cuts this sort of decorative piece. And at first I was like, what the heck do I do with this? And then I couldn't stop using it. So I'm going to use it on 2 out of our 3 projects today. So you'll see what that looks like, and you'll see it in action. All right, so that is the bundle. And then we have, as I said, 2 designer paper packs. Now, like I said, I love this paper and I've used so much of it. This is all, I only have like a 6x8 sheet left until my order arrives with more. But it is so, so pretty. So we have this gorgeous floral. Talk about autumn, that looks so fall-like. And then the purple. This is my very favorite pattern. I absolutely love this moody blue. And then we have, I'm gonna talk about those two in a minute. And then we have this wild wheat, but then we have these 2, which at first when I looked at them, I'm like, why do we have 2 of the same pattern? And then when I kind of stepped back, I went, oh, this one's primarily red and this one's primarily purple. So it's essentially the same pattern, but they've just changed out some of the florals on the one to have both purple and red. This one is all red. Does that make sense? You see, these are all red. These ones are purple. And then, of course, when we flip these over, we have some more subtle patterns. So I love this tone on tone red floral. I don't know, I just love the layering, the depth that has. And then we have a beautiful plaid. We have 2, oh, sorry, there's a blue in that same kind of layered floral. And then we have two patterns that are similar, one in the Blackberry Bliss and then one in Pretty Peacock, just sort of like a bit of texture. And then another plaid in the Wild Wheat. So beautiful paper, whether you're looking at the front or the back side. And then we have a specialty paper called Regal Distress Patterns. So I should have mentioned, these are regular 12 by 12, okay? I just have small pieces because that's all I have left. But our Regal Distress Patterns, it is a specialty paper, it is single-sided. So the back is plain because of all the foiling. And you get 2 of each sheet in the pack. So you get 6 sheets. So we have this beautiful Pretty Peacock and gold foliage. And then we have a cherry cobbler sort of distressed grid pattern. And then we have a white grid pattern. And this, you wouldn't think it would be, but this is actually my favorite sheet of the pack, because with white, you can do all kinds of things to add color and pattern. You're going to see me do that on one of the projects today. So lovely specialty paper, lots of possibilities. This is gorgeous for Christmas, actually. So is this. They all are. So there we go. That is the paper. And then, of course, we have some embellishments. We've got these cute little, what are these called? Regal foiled adhesive back dots. And they have a little bit of gold foil in them. I'm not sure how well that shows on the camera, but they're quite pretty. And then we also have this stunning ribbon. So this is Blackberry Bliss and Gold textured ribbon. It is, how wide is this? 1/2 inch, I think. Yeah, 1/2 inch. And it's got this lovely gold trim on it. Lots of things you can do with that. You will see that in action today as well. So I'm going to leave these out because I need to use them. So we're going to get to it. Now, I see we've had lots of people come in. So let me just get a quick check and see who's here. Mia's joining us. Hi, Julie. Welcome. Hi, Charlie. Welcome, welcome. All right. We have Pat from Staten Island. Lovely. And yes, Deb, that specialty paper is fantastic. Hi, Sharon in Winnipeg. I hope you are enjoying this beautiful weather too. Joyce, you made it home from your trek out here. All right. This is the first card we're going to make. It again features the DSP very prominently. And I actually have another version that I am going to show you now. I was going to show this at the end, but so this one, remember how I said there were those 2 similar pattern sheets that have one is primarily purple and one is primarily red? So I decided to make the same card, essentially, one with the purple and one with the red. And I honestly am not sure which one I like better. I like them both, but we're going to do the purple one today. So I'm going to pull out our bits here. I have put all of the measurements in the video description, so you should have them all if you want to try recreating any of these. So to start, I have my Blackberry Bliss mat. That is where I'm going to sort of build my card front. This is cut to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller than a typical mat. And then I have some pieces of designer series paper. So there is a 2-inch wide and a 1 oh, what did I do? That goes this way. Had to second guess myself there. A 1 3/4 inch wide. Okay, so we have a 2 by 2, 2 by 3, 1 3/4 by 3, and 1 3/4 by 2. Okay, again, those are all in the measurements, and you could mix and match these patterns, right? You could pick other patterns from the pack. This floral goes with everything that's in that pack, right? Because there's so many different colors in it. So what we're essentially going to do is arrange these on our mat here. So I'm going to be just really take my time. I want to make sure I get these lined up nice and straight. There we go. And then this guy's going to tuck in under here. Okay. Once I have them arranged, I like to use liquid glue whenever I'm doing anything. Look at, I could even use the purple. Look how pretty the purple is. I feel like the purple is maybe a little too busy with all the floral. One of the more subtle patterns works a little bit better, but it would work color-wise. All right, so we're going to start by tucking this guy in, and I do need to pull this a little closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. And then this guy is going to tuck underneath. I've got a goopy tombow. I got to clean off all the end of it. Make it a little less goopy. Let's do that. Do you ever get this? You get that sort of dried glue, giant glue booger on the end of your tombow. And then I'll add again this guy. Now, if you like symmetry, if you like things even, you could certainly do two. Well, you'd have to do, this is 3 3/4, so you'd have to do 1 5/8, I think. No, yeah, 1 7/8. In order for this to work, for it to be symmetrical. But I like that it is not symmetrical. I like that this one side is a little bit larger than the other. Okay, so that is all there is to our card front. We're going to glue that onto a pretty peacock card base. So this is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So we'll go ahead and fold that in half along our score line. Oh, we got lots of people coming in. Hi, Jackie and Felicia and Penny. Nice to see your name. Hi, Judy. Welcome, welcome. All right. Oh, before we do that, we're going to add a little ribbon. So I'm going to take some of my beautiful ribbon, and I am going to grab my ribbon scissors because I forgot to bring them over. They are right here. Because this ribbon is so pretty, I don't want to frame my ends and waste any. So we're going to grab glue dots, one on each end. And then that is going to just kind of run across the middle-ish. Again, because these are sort of different heights, if it's not perfectly in the middle, it really doesn't matter. Now we're going to add a little adhesive and glue this onto our card base. So we're going to pop that on, and you have a wider border. I know I'm usually all about the narrow borders, but today this particular one has a wider border. And then we'll take our other bits, wherever they went. There they are. We're going to do some stamping. So I have here this sort of larger floral image. It's actually 3 blossoms from the stamp set. And we're going to do my little trick with red rubber. It is possible to do this little upside down stamping trick with red rubber. You just have to be a little bit careful. So I'm going to, this is cut from Berry Burst cardstock. Okay. And I am going to ink this up. And then again, just like we do with the photopolymer, I'm going to lay this on top and press with just a plain empty block. And there we have it. Okay, so it does work with both photopolymer and red rubber. You just have to be a little bit careful when you're doing the red rubber. All right, so I have here a little scrap of ribbon, and what I'm going to do is actually trim off the finished edge that has the gold, and we're just going to use that narrow little bit behind our flower. So I'm just going to trim off the edge. You can certainly make this piece as wide as you want, but I really am most interested in that like gold braiding there. So what I'm going to do now is take and put a little bit of seal on the back of my flower, and I am going to do my little zigzaggy trick. So there's that. We need to make this a little bit long. Oh, no, that works. We'll trim the ends. We have just a little hint of that ribbon showing behind the flower. Okay. All right. So now we are going to pop this up on the center. This little circle is die cut using the stylish shape size. It is about a 2 1/8 inch circle, and it's cut from some of that pretty specialty paper. So we're going to go ahead and pop this up on our circle with a couple of dimensionals as soon as I find my sheet. There it is. All right, so let's cut a couple of these. And we'll get rid of our backings. And then I kind of do this so that this little guy is peeking up, because we're going to put our sentiment across there. Okay. All right. Now we're going to add this die cut piece. So this is that piece from the dies that I was like, I'm not sure what I do with this. It's just a little texture, kind of lacy piece. And so what I'm going to do actually, if I just put this on here, most of it is covered by my circle, and I wanted to see more of that. So what I'm going to do is just cut this in half. I'm going to run some seal across the back of my circle. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to the back of the circle so that it extends a little bit longer so I see more of it. It's going to kind of go right across my card front like that. Okay, so that now is going to get adhered. We're going to glue it flat because I am going to, well, I've already popped up my flowers, right? So I don't want too much dimension. So we're going to pop that on right about there. And I love the way the ribbon kind of peeks through the cutouts in the die cut. You probably can't see that real well, but you can see the ribbon kind of peeking through there. And then our last touch is to stamp our sentiment. So this is a 5/8 inch wide strip of just white cardstock, just a bit of scrap. And I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments from the stamp set in Pretty Peacock ink. So we're just going to center that on there, hopefully get it relatively straight. Not bad. And then we're going to trim the ends into a banner. So I didn't bring a punch over. I'm going to do it the hard way, but I'm going to, well, it's not hard, but I'm going to show you how to trim your banner end. So you're going to cut off the excess. Then I'm going to take my snips. I'm going to cut in the middle as far as I want my notch to go. And then I go from one corner into the end of that notch. And then the other corner into the end of the notch. Whoops, didn't quite get to the corner. There we go. All right, so that gives you a nice even banner end. We're going to do the same thing on the other end. So again, we'll trim off the excess, cut in with our paper snips. 1, 2, and we get a nice even banner. All right, get rid of all those little bits, and then that is going to go right across our flowers there, just a little bit of seal. And we're just going to lay that right across there like that. Hopefully straight-ish. Okay, our last touch, I'm actually going to use some of the these clear iridescent foil gems. They're very similar to these, but they're clear, so they go with no matter which pattern. And what I like is that when you put them onto the DSP, it kind of picks up whatever color is behind it. So these are kind of like a hidden gem, but sorry, it's a gem. It's in the catalog. It's hidden. And they're kind of like a universal Swiss Army knife of embellishment because they'll work with everything because they're clear and they pick up the colors that are behind it. Okay, and then on the inside, I added just a 1-inch strip of DSP and stamped a sentiment on the inside. Okay, so that is number 1. Let's get some things out of the way here. Actually, I need to clean some things because I'm going to need to use a bunch of these stamps again. So let's clean our sentiment and our flowers. And we're going to put the Pretty Peacock away and move on to number 2. So card number 2 is this one. I absolutely love these sort of layered florals that are on the back side of the DSP. I just think they are so, so pretty. So again, did a little bit of arranging and, well, let's get to it. I'll show you. It's really not hard to do. So to start with this one, I'm starting with, actually what I did, this was a 4x12-inch piece of designer series paper, and I cut a 5¼ inch card front off of it. So I'm left with like 6 3/4. And so rather than, cut another 5¼ inch card front, I just thought, well, let's just do the rip and flip trick. So here we go. We're just going to kind of start somewhere along that long edge, and I'm going to tear on a diagonal. So you kind of want to make sure it goes diagonally across, and I know it's tragic. I'm tearing this beautiful paper, but I want to get that sort of raw white edge. Okay, and then I'm just going to flip this side over and we're going to layer this, and that gives me my pretty card front. All right, now before we do that though, we are going to add another one of those sort of lacy die cut pieces. I didn't poke my bits on this. I'm sorry. Should have done that ahead of time. And again, this is a little bit short to go the full length of my sort of torn edge. So we're going to cut it and hide the joint with our label. Okay. So again, I'm going to cut this. I'm not going to cut it quite in half this time because it's going to be more exposed on the top than the bottom. But what I'm going to do is take that side with that pretty, that raw torn edge, and I'm going to then run my seal across the back side, and I'm just going to layer that lacy die cut in behind, just like that. And that gap there is going to be hidden when we add our label. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and glue this onto our mat. So this mat is 4 by 5 3/8. So we're going to start with our back piece first and then layer our front piece on. So I'm going to use liquid glue just so that I can get things wiggled into place where I want them. So let's get this one down first. I should mention the mat is Blackberry Bliss. For those of us who are not color experts, not all of us are. I don't know why it is. I just seem to remember colors really easily. Of course, until I'm not using them, and then I forget. So now I'm just going to add some glue to the back of the other side of my torn piece and adhere that, lining up my top and bottom edges so I have a nice equal frame. And there is my card, okay, or my card's background anyway, my card front. All right, now let me just add a little more glue there because that's popping up. I thought I maybe had enough seal there, but I don't think I did. Okay, so we're going to set that aside for a few minutes. And actually, you know what? Let's glue it onto our card base. Then we will work on our focal image. So our card base is Wild Wheat. I have to say, this color has grown on me so much. In the year and a half it has been an in color. At first, I was like, I don't know. But honestly, now it is one of my very favorite colors, and I love it for fall. It's so pretty. So this is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we're going to go ahead and fold that along our score line. One of the things I love about Wild Wheat is that it really reads as gold. So if you are pairing it with gold, it works so beautifully, almost as a neutral or a metallic on your projects. I think of it more as a neutral than as a yellow. All right, so we're going to glue this onto our card base. There we go. And then we're just going to set that aside for a few minutes. All right, now we're going to do some stamping. So to start, I have my label. So this is the label that is cut using the die that is the extra die that's included, this one. So this die, actually, let me turn it this way. Oh, no, sorry, I'm looking at it backwards. It goes this way. The inner section of this cuts out the label. The outer section cuts a frame. Okay. All right, so I have my label. We're going to do some stamping. Let me just grab the right stamps here. We're going to use this sort of, I don't know, it looks kind of like Lily of the Valley. I know it's not, but it just has that kind of, the leaves are kind of the Lily of the Valley shape. So we're just going to stamp a couple of times with this image on our label, just to kind of create a backdrop for our little floral arrangement that we're going to create. Okay, that's all there is to it. I think I already stamped. Yeah, I stamped and die cut some pieces ahead of time, just in the interest of time. All right, now for our flowers, we're going to do a little inking trick with our daubers. So I have my daubers here, and I'm going to start with Berry Burst. So I'm going to take my dauber, and I'm going to ink the entire stamp with Berry Burst. Now, I had a little bitty fly onto my ink pad. What are you doing here? You're going to be very inky, little dude. Way you go. I don't know, it's like a fruit fly or something. So I'm going to ink the entire thing with Berry Burst. Now, you may be, now he's on my finger. I'm going to have an inky finger. You may be wondering why I'm inking the entire stamp with the dauber rather than just taking the ink pad to the stamp. And that is because we're going to be blending or layering some ink. And if I ink this with the ink pad, it would be very noticeable, the parts where I apply the dauber to. Okay, so in order to get sort of an even, consistent look, you want to apply all the layers of ink in the same way, so with a dauber. All right, so then I'm going to take my Blackberry Bliss ink and my dauber, and I'm just going to apply some Blackberry Bliss in the middle. And I want to make sure that I kind of blend it a little bit. I don't want to just go and do like have a perfect little circle, right? We want to make sure that it's blended a little bit. So it's the leaves on the second card. These are also wild wheat. Okay, so wild wheat in the backdrop, and these are stamped in wild wheat. These ones I'll talk about in a minute. Okay, all right, so we're gonna do that same little trick. So I've inked up my stamp. I'm gonna take my blank die cut. I gotta see what I'm doing. This is hard to do when I'm on camera and I can't look straight down. We'll center that on our stamp. Hopefully that's centered. And then press with our block. And there we get this beautifully layered color. Can you see that? All right. Now, it bothers me that the centers of these are plain, so I'm going to take my light Wild Wheat Stampin' Blends, and I'm just going to come in and add a little hint of color in the center of these flowers, just because it bugs me. So there we go. All right. Now we're going to build our arrangement. So I have here a couple of little sprigs that I punched out of Blackberry Bliss cardstock using the bow punch. Okay. And then, yes, Mary, I did mention these are wild wheat. That's right. These guys are actually Moody Mauve. Sorry, my voice. A little water is in order. They're Moody Mauve, and then I added a little hint of Blackberry Bliss. Okay. So this guy was stamped in the same way as this one with some Berry Burst and Blackberry Bliss. Okay, so we're going to start with the 3 flowers, and then we're actually going to tuck this larger flower in behind. So I'm going to add a little bit of seal to the back of my flowers here. And we're just going to tuck that little guy in behind there. Okay, then we're going to add some of our wild wheat foliage. So I'm going to add, what am I going to do? I'm going to add one down here. And one, yeah, kind of at the side here. We'll add a little bit more seal and tuck that kind of out the side there. So that is going to layer like that over our label. But before we do that, we're also going to add some foliage to the label. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to add some more seal and then add one of my punched sprigs and one of these guys. And then these ones are going to come down the other way. Just like that. And I did that to get just a different height, right? I wanted some in the background and some, this one's going to pop. We're going to pop that up with some dimensionals. So let's do that. Couple of dimensionals on the back of our little floral arrangement here. And then we're going to, oops, that's upside down. Oh, no, I was right the first time. What we'll do, we'll do this. We're going to layer that way. Okay, so there is my focal image. Now we're going to go ahead and adhere that to our card before we, oh, I forgot to add my ribbon. Darn it. On my sample, I did add the other half. So remember how I cut the edge off this ribbon? I added the other half to this one. That was my plan, but I forgot to do it and it stuck down. So that's okay. We will go ribbonless. I know. Shocking turn of events here, but I don't want to try and pull that apart. I don't like where that branch is. We got to fix this branch. It's going the wrong way. I'm going to pull that out for a minute and I will add it back in a second. All right, so we're going to pop this on. See, I'm all rattled now that I forgot my ribbon. It's bothering me. Where'd my, there they are, my glue dots. So I'm going to add this branch back in, oriented the way I want it. It's going to come more across this way, like that. Okay. All right. Now we're going to take and add our sentiments. So I'm using the same stamp that we did on the last card, but we're only going to use the sending love portion. And I want a 2-tone effect. So we're going to use Wild Wheat and Blackberry Bliss Stampin' Right markers. So I'm going to ink sending with the brush tip of my Stampin' Right. Now these are not Stampin' Blends. Okay. Look at the difference. Okay. Stampin' Right, Stampin' Blends. These ones are water-based. These ones are alcohol. Do not use this to ink your stamp. Okay, it will not, you will not have ink on it. You will actually just have a permanent stain on your stamp. The Stampin' Right markers use the same type of ink that is in our ink pads, and they are great for watercoloring, any water-based techniques, as well as inking your stamp. So I've inked sending with my Wild Wheat, and then I'm going to ink love with Blackberry Bliss. When I first started stamping, I actually invested at that time. Yeah, I think we still sold the markers in color families. So I would buy the color families of markers because they were more affordable than the color families of ink pads. So I started out with just a whole bunch of markers rather than a whole bunch of ink pads, and that served me quite well for quite some time. So now I'm going to take my little strip here. This is just a 1/2 inch strip. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. I'm going to cut off the long end. Then I'm going to slide the cutoff part down to the other end and use that as a guide so that I get my angles going the same way. And there you go. Okay. All right. So that now is just going to get a little bit of, well, yeah, we can use a little bit of seal across that. And we're going to layer that across our flowers. Just like that. Oh, I'm missing my ribbon. Dagnabbit. That's annoying. All right, we are going to add some of our pretty embellishments. These are the Regal foiled adhesive back dots, and I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss ones. Can you tell I like the Blackberry Bliss most? I've used way more of them than the others. That's always the way it goes, right? You get a multi-pack of embellishments and you run out of one long before the others. So there you go. There is our finished card minus the ribbon. I love that extra ribbon, but that's okay. On the inside, I just did some stamping, added another sentiment and a little bit of texture in behind it. So there we go. That is, whoops, sorry, too high. Number 2. Okay. All right. Moving on. Tie a bow with it and add it. I don't know if well, maybe. Okay. You convinced me, Linda. Let's see if we can make that work. This is a group effort card design here. So let's cut this. This is going to be a pretty small bow. This is a pretty short piece, but we'll see if it'll work. So there's our little bit. I don't know. This is going to be a pretty weenie bow. Let's see how we do. Get that in there. It's an itty bitty bow, but it might work. Let's see. Where will we tuck it? Maybe we'll tuck it in just under the sentiment there. Does that work? Or, yeah. Oh, it's not bad there. I don't mind it there, kind of tucked under the foliage. I think it shows up better against the lighter color than against the dark DSP. All right, you convinced me, Linda. We're going to go for it. So let's cut this little glue dot here because this is very teeny tiny knot. So I'm using a half glue dot rolled into a little glue booger to adhere this so that I don't end up with a whole bunch of excess sticky on my card. And then I'm just going to trim the ends here at a bit of an angle. There we go. Yeah, that works. Thank you, Linda, for the suggestion. I like it too. All right, group effort. Here we go. Last card is a fun fold, and it's actually a fun fold that I demonstrated a couple of weeks ago, used in a different way. So let me show you the fold. I posted this earlier today. It closes like this. It's just a simple gate fold. Okay, so I'm going to show you the fold or the scoring and do the folding, and then I'm going to remind you of which card it was that that works, that this is based on. Okay, so let's see that. You love the bow. Okay, see, Linda, you are a genius. All right, so I'm going to start with a piece of the gorgeous Designer Series paper. This, oh, I've already scored it. Look at that. This is 5.5 by 8.5. Okay, so nothing different from a standard card base. And what I've done is score it at 2 and 3 1/8 inches from each end. So 2 and 3 1/8, and then flip it 2 and 3 1/8. Okay, so long side at the top, 2 and 3 1/8. All right. So then I'm going to fold inwards along that second score line. So I'm just going to fold this. You want to have, oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. You want to have the side up that you want to see on the front of your card when you're folding. I almost did it backwards. Okay, and then that other score line I'm going to fold back. So I'm making a Z fold essentially. Okay, now when I'm doing this side, I'm going to fold this in. I want to make sure that that's nice and straight. And then when I pull this back, when I fold this back, I want to make sure, take care to make sure that my folds meet in the middle. And if they don't, oh, these are actually pretty good. Look at that. My measurements were not bad. Sometimes I just take my bone folder and I just kind of massage the fold a little bit until I get it to line up. Okay, so if I flip this over, do you remember this fun fold that we did the other day? The one that stands up like this? So all I did is I flipped it and had the back side be the front. And I'm going to glue the back side to a card base, just a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of cardstock to give it a little bit of strength. Okay, so 2 uses for the same fun fold. Gotta love it when you come up with multi-functional designs. I am going to go ahead and just score those folds really, really well so this lays nice and flat. Okay, so that is going to get glued to, as I said, a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of Night of Navy cardstock. All right, so this is 5 1/2 inches tall. So it's going to be flush top and bottom and then have a little 1/8 of an inch border on either side. If you want to have that extra border, like have a matching border, you could start with a 5 1/4 by 8 1/2 inch piece of designer series paper. The only caution is, and I'm going to show you, I actually did one like that. The only caution is that it won't stand up especially well. So this one stands up quite nicely, right? This is one that I did my first sort of iteration of this card. I cut it, the designer series paper, to 5 1/4 and then matted and added my layer. And you'll see that it doesn't stand up. Well, it stands, but it stands crooked. Can you see that? It kind of has a lean forward and tends to kind of fall forward because this edge is not flush with the bottom edge. Does that make sense? So if it's not a big deal to you that it doesn't stand up nicely, then, and you want to have equal borders all the way around, you can cut the designer series paper to 5 1/4. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and add some glue to the back of our folded DSP here. And then we're going to go ahead and glue this. So I'm just going to start with sort of one end, lining up that edge flush with the bottom of my backing panel. And then just make sure we have an equal border on the 2 sides. Okay, so that gives us our card base. Really, really easy. If you are worried about the fact that this tends to pop up a little bit when it's lying flat, you could certainly add some ribbon to tie it shut. I decided that that wasn't a big enough deal to make me want to add ribbon, so I didn't. All right, so we're going to have some fun with a little bit of this specialty paper. So here is my label that I've die cut from that white pattern from the specialty paper pack. And we're going to do a little bit of ink blending on it because anytime you've got white, you can add color. So we're going to do that. I've just got some Night of Navy ink here. And I'm just going to come on and add some color all the way around. So I want the color to be heaviest at the edges and then kind of fade as it gets towards the middle of the label here. So I'm just coming around. So I'm taking care that I'm not actually really going over the center all that much. I'm really focusing on my edges. A little bit more, and we're good. All right. Now I've got to, I'm not going to, yeah, I'm going to keep that one out because I'm going to do some stamping with that in a minute. But first, where is that stamp? Did I take it out? Is it still in the stamp case? No, what did I do with it? It's got to be here somewhere. There it is. We are going to do a little bit of stamping with some Blackberry Bliss ink. So the colors I used on this are Night of Navy and Blackberry Bliss. So I'm going to come in with my Blackberry Bliss ink and this single large flower. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp once in the bottom left corner of my label. And then once in the top right. Okay. Then we're going to bring that little sprig stamp or branch stamp, this little guy, and we're going to add some Night of Navy. So I'm just going to kind of fill in around my label with that sort of branch image. just like that. I'll hold that up so you can see. Okay, you get a lovely sort of collage effect there. Okay, all right, that's that part. Now I'm going to keep my Night of Navy ink out because we are going to do some more stamping, and then I'm going to show you a really cool trick. This card's got a lot going on. I kept the first two fairly simple because we got lots to do on this one. So I have two blanks of that little branch image, the one that we were just stamping with, that I've die cut from Misty Moonlight ink. Okay, and then if I can get rid of this little pokey bit, I'm going to, again, ink my branch with Night of Navy ink. And I'm going to stamp my blank. Okay, we'll do the second one. Same deal. Oh, that one's a little off, but that's okay. There we go. And then we're actually going to do the same trick in the navy ink on Blackberry Bliss cardstock using that flower, which is right in front of me. Holy cow. All right, I do need to clean this one because it has Blackberry Bliss ink in it, and I don't want Blackberry Bliss. I want Night of Navy. So again, I'm going to ink this up and stamp. I'm just going to do two of these. I think I cut an extra one just in case I screwed up. That's always nice to have a backup plan, right? Here we go. All right, so those are all stamped. Now I know you probably can't even see a stamped image on those Blackberry Bliss ones. You'll have to take my word for it. For now, I'll hold it up. I don't know if you'll be able to see the image. There you can see a hint of it. It's very, very dark. And of course, it being so dark means that it's very hard to see the image. So we're going to add some highlights. So this is just a white watercolor pencil. And what I'm going to do is essentially trace the shape of the blossoms, or of the petals rather, on the blossom, on the flower, with my watercolor pencil. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of white coloring along the edges of each petal to highlight them. Now this is so dark I can hardly see it because I'm not looking straight down. It's a little bit tricky. This was much easier to do when I was looking straight down over it. It's harder to do when you can't see the whole thing. But what happens, it's kind of a cool effect, is that the watercolor pencil picks up some of that navy ink and blends it out on our Blackberry Bliss cardstock, and you get sort of this layered, moody blue with a hint of really dark purple. It's kind of a cool effect. So I'm just tracing on my petals. And then I'm going to come in and add just a little bit of shading. You can add more, you can add less, but it gives this really cool effect. So there we go. There is my shaded flower. Can you see that? It's just a really subtle effect. So we're going to do the same thing on this one. This one's a little bit drier, so it'll be, the white will be a bit crisper. If you let your ink dry for a couple minutes before you add your watercolor pencil, your white will be a little bit brighter and crisper. It won't pick up as much of the navy ink, which means you will have sort of brighter lines. It's kind of a matter of preference. And we'll come around the bottom here. You do have to press fairly hard with the white watercolor pencil. So you can see I've outlined my petals, and then again, I'm just going to come in and do a little bit of shading. I had lots of fun playing around with this. Once I discovered this little trick, I was like, ooh, I could do lots of things with this. So blend those out a little bit. And on these ones, I kind of did the bottom of the petals just to add. There we go. Okay. And then on my branches, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlight to each leaf. So it's really just a little quick bit of white on each leaf. I have no idea what if this technique has a name. Not a clue. I just was playing around and was trying to get something that looked similar to the images in the DSP. And this is what I came up with. There we go. Okay, so we've got our little highlighted branches there. Yep, I'm drawing right on top of the ink. That's right, Deb. Yeah, and you see the white will move, like, because this is water-based, right? So it'll move a little bit of the navy ink, so you'll get a little bit of blending happening. And on this one, we actually get some blending the navy, and then it kind of blends it in with the purple a little bit as well. Okay, all right, so that's my little trick. I hope you like it. All right, time to build us an arrangement. So we are going to start with one of our blossoms here. And one of our branches, we're just going to kind of come across like that. Then I'm going to add a little bit more seal, and we will add another branch. And then another blossom, just like that. Okay, is our little arrangement. And then this guy, I stamped and heat embossed in white on navy. Okay, and it just adds that extra little pop. I love how there's like these pops of white on the DSPs, so I kind of wanted that effect in my arrangement. And there you go. There's your little arrangement. Okay, so then we're going to add some ribbon. Now this is going to go across our tag. So we're going to go ahead and just run our seal right across the tag. I'm going to cut, I don't know, a little bit longer than the tag. So we'll do angles on, oops, don't stick yet. Cut angles on both ends. And then we're just going to layer this across the tag, just like that. Okay, these guys are going to pop up. So we're going to add a couple of dimensionals here. As soon as I find them, they're buried under ink pads here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, maybe one more there. Oh, my little fly friend is back. Now he's sitting on my finger. Not sure what his game is, but he's very persistent. So there we go. Now he's on my grid paper. There he is. All right, now we are going to adhere this to our card base. Before we add the label, we're actually going to add the frame. So this is the part that label die cuts out. So one pass through the machine cuts both the label and the frame. Okay, so we're going to adhere the label first. And keep in mind that we only want to adhere this side, right? This side is going to be floating so that we can open our card. Now, you probably may want to use adhesive sheets. The only trick is you only want adhesive sheets on half the label, right? I am going to use liquid glue. There are some like little slits in this label that if you use too much glue, you will have a sticky mess. So if you're going to use liquid glue, you want to be quite sparing with it. Don't overdo it with the glue. So we're just going to adhere our frame to the left panel on our card base. And then our label is going to get adhered inside that frame, but also inside, or sorry, on the left side. We're going to pop up our label. So I'm just going to put 3 dimensionals inside my frame here. And then I'm going to take my label and just line it up so that it matches up with our frame and stick it on. And there we go. Oh, it's a little crooked. Oh, well, we'll have to live with it because it's too late to straighten it. The glue has dried. All right, our last touch is to stamp our little thanks sentiment just on a little white banner that has been die cut using the Stylish Shapes dies. And I'm going to stamp in navy ink. And again, I cut 2 just in case I stamped crookedly, but we're good. The label is from the same die set that I'm featuring. It's the Regal, what's it called? Regal Flora is the bundle, part of the Regal Winter Suite. It's this, okay? All right, so that is going to just get glued right on top of our little arrangement there. I'm going to add a bit of glue, and we're just gonna pop that on right across there, hopefully relatively straight, straighter than our label is anyway. And then on the inside of our card, we have just a white panel to give us a spot to write a greeting. This is cut to 2 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it is going to nestle inside there quite nicely. If you wanted to, you could do some stamping. There's not a lot of real estate on here. So if you stamp, you're not going to have much space for a message. So maybe that's a good thing. Depends how much you like to write. So we'll go ahead and stick that down. And our last step is to add some more of these pretty gems. We're going to use the blue ones. So we'll add a couple of these guys. I was tempted to use the Blackberry Bliss ones again, I will confess, but I resisted the temptation and decided to try to use some of the other colors because they are pretty. So we'll just add a few of these little guys, and there we go. Done and done. You like that one? It's a nifty fun fold and a great way to showcase beautiful, beautiful paper. All right, let's set these aside. Actually, let's bring back all of our projects. So we've got 1, 2, and 3 for today. And then I have, of course, my red version of this one I showed you earlier. Here are a few more. So this one uses more of that paper and a little bit brighter color palette. So I incorporated a little bit of heat embossing. There's that little ribbon trick with the trimmed edge again. And this die is, of course, from the Nested Essentials. I've used the label die. It's 3 panels. I cut 3 panels from the DSP as my backgrounds. Tammy, you can actually catch this. The replay will be available once I finish the live stream. It will be on my page where you found me. If you click on videos, you will find it listed there. Okay. Here's another fun fold. Can you tell that this blue is my favorite from the pack? This is a fun fold I demonstrated a few weeks ago now. But again, same idea. There's that pretty little lacy die cut, this time in silver, to decorate. And then I couldn't resist making a shaker card because that label makes that fun label, and then the frame. So I just used the window and added the frame to frame it. And of course, a few more of our pretty flowers, and then did a little stamping on the inside. So there you go. Lots of ideas with the Regal Winter Suite from the new Holiday Mini. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm so glad you like them. Yeah, measurements are there. You may have to scroll down. Sometimes you have to click see more to find the measurements, but they are there. Okay, let me go back to me so I can say thank you for joining me today. We went a little over time, but I hope it was worth it to learn some new things and see some pretty cards. So thank you for joining me today. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.